on. We've got a little trip planned for the day. We're going to head up to Craigsville, West Virginia to the Columbia Forest Products mill. And this mill primarily makes a lot of hardwood plywood, and they do this by sourcing poplar and other similar species. You'll get a list here in a minute from Chris. And they take this and they put them on a lathe and they peel them down into real thin sheets, and they'll put it all back together and make a beautiful plywood. Then they'll put hardwood, little thin veneer on each end of it, and each side of it rather. And wow, we've got a bunch here in the shop, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We used it for paneling on the walls, and I tell you, it is gorgeous stuff. But the what we're going to talk today is not so much about what that mill does primarily in the poplar and similar species peeling, as we're going to be talking about the hardwood end of it. And they haven't been doing this very long, and they're working on gathering up those trees that they normally don't use at the site that would go to another person, and now they're trying to take care of that. And you'll meet Joe here, and he is heading up that hardwood resale part. So he gets the logs brought in, and they pile them up for him, and he goes through them. And we're going to listen to a little bit about what he does and how he got to where he was. And of course, Chris, he's going to be doing a little overview for you here in the beginning, tell you a little bit about it, and hope you have a great time checking this out. I just had a ball, and of course I'm going to say right off the bat that it was a kind of a crazy day. We'd been planning this trip for a long time, and really been looking forward to do it, and the weather turned out pretty crummy. But and in addition to crazy weather conditions, the technology was really fighting with me. Again, having trouble with these discs. They're not wanting to go more than 11 minutes and 47 seconds exactly. So I'm really not sure what's going on. I've tried reformatting and all the things I've been able to do on the internet. They'll work for one or two times and then they're back to messing up. So thought we had it fixed, but apparently we didn't. So I'm going to have to slide back up there again. And of course, it's always a great time. We've been there several times and toured the mill on the inside. And again, they were going to be looking at some other things. But again, I want to apologize about the weather. There's some wind noise in this, and snow specks hitting the lens of the camera, and some conversations got cut short, and I tried to piece enough together to get you a little bit about what they're doing, but really just we missed a lot of good stuff there. There was talking about the red oak side of things, and some maple we missed, a lot of curly maple, some really interesting stuff about curly maple that it was just in footage that got lost. So again, I apologize for that. We'll try to hit it again another time and regather some of that footage. But anyway, I'm going to turn you loose here in a minute, let you check it out. There's I guess before that, there's a lot of very interesting things here. And for those that don't know much about the timber industry, that's one of our leading industries in our state here in West Virginia. And there's so many opportunities. I mean, you'll see truck drivers, you'll see heavy equipment operators. You'll see again that the jobs that we're going to be talking a little bit about today with Chris as procurement forester for gathering all the wood to the mill. You'll see Joe talking about how he works the hardwood side of things and finds the 50 plus different buyers for the product he has, and right on down to the folks in the mill. Enjoy.
After the truck comes across the scales, they've got to come in and keep them now. They're kind of behind the logs down there. They got to come through the unbinding rack. Unbinding rack's got fingers on it so that when the truck drivers are taking the straps off, safety thing, the logs won't fall on them. After they get them they're unbinding out of the unbinding rack, they pull around. You got to see the trucks in there now. Those guys unload there. Everything that's unloaded down there in the past has always been peelers, but with our new resale yard going, we're unloading both down there. One fun way to get one is separate those. But as they're unloaded, they'll lay them out. That's the logs laid out there now. Guys will come through and we scale each individual log. Like I mentioned, we use Doyle scale. We've got a peeler scale for our length and our diameter to kind of fit our system. But after they're scaled, they're separated, put into the deck, both by, we separate mainly by species, not by lengths, just by species each one. Currently we're still doing poplar, basswood. Our cucumbers, same as poplar, we put those both in together. Sycamore, aspen, they're all peeler species right now. We do have some old oak that we're still peeling. We're using it for a flooring product. We're going to peel it out, just kind of monitor where the market's going in. After they're unloaded, sort them into the decks. Once we start those in the field, logs are fed into the debarker and the metal detector. And they kind of go in and can't really tell the building. Kind of got the open. That's the back side of the debarker, metal detector. Now they went down and they're solved, and we kind of sort them into the vats from here, and they go into the mill and see.
You see, we just got a load of logs in, and these were the hardwood logs, and they're dropped in, and he'll go through and look at them. Here we're seeing a truck and trailer coming through, and they just got unloaded. That loader will grab approximately 1/4 of a truckload of logs at a time. So, or a tractor trailer wise, that was a truck with a pup trailer. But each grab will do the top half, the second will grab the bottom, and then move back to the trailer and do the top half and the bottom half. It is absolutely amazing. And you'll see this little piece here when he opens up the grapple, and right here you start to see this little ejector come out. Man, that is a neat thing. Keeps them from dragging up the bottoms all the time. So really neat outfit.
I have like a checklist, so to speak. I go through my mind of, okay, if it's got this, this, and this, it's veneer quality, it's close. I ain't rolling them. It's a little hard because there's snow coverage right now, so it's usually we're looking for cat faces and making that determination of where the price breakdowns are. Basically, the logs here come in and they're not pre-graded or anything. They just come in a pile like that, and I kind of just sort through them by species first and then by grade. And right now we have red oak, chestnut oak, hard maple, soft maple, hickory, cherry, a little bit of birch, a decent amount of walnut. That's probably about it. We'll get the occasional oddball species, but that's been the majority of what we deal in so far here. So what I try to sort right off the bat is my highest end logs, whether it be veneer, and then your high grade saw log / export log, which is that middle grade, and then your low grade. And I do that for about every species. Almost every species has essentially 3 sorts that you can do that with. Maybe minus walnut. Walnut's just kind of so hot, you just lump it all into one big pile and let somebody buy it in a sense. But everything else I sorted out. So what I had here is the contractors will send in the white oak double length, which these are 18.5 foot. So you're looking at an 8-foot log, a 10-foot log, 2 8s, a 9, and a 10. It just depends. They'll put a little longer, a little shorter. So what I've done is I lay them up on runners. I lay all their poles down, set the logs up so I can see them first of all. And the way I grade them is I start based on the outside appearance. So when I'm looking for a veneer log in white oak, I'm looking for 4 sides clear, no cat faces. I'm looking for a straight log, no sweep, not even an inch, ½ inch. It's got to be straight. Then I look for the soundness, the wood quality. We don't pick too much on wood quality because white oak in West Virginia tends to be released a lot, suppressed, and it'll have some different textured wood, but anymore we don't pay a super amount of attention to that. We're just looking for sound, straight, 4-side clear, and 14-inch and larger for the veneer quality. So when I look at these logs, if I see a knot of any sort, I won't put it in the veneer sort, because with the stave buyers right now, which is that middle sort of white oak, they pay actually a little bit better price for that log. So sometimes I'll just leave them long and I won't mess with them, or I won't try to take out a bad defect. I just leave it be and let the stave buyers look at it. And then you move down to your lowest sort, which is that saw log, truthfully a low grade log right now in the white oak market. It's just something that's short really bad, rotten, twisted seams, no sides clear. You know, it's just a rougher log. And the staves, they really buy an 11-inch small end diameter and up. The biggest kicker for most of the stave guys is they don't want anything bigger than 29 inches on the butt. So if it's any bigger than that, I usually take my rule and I'll measure, and if it's, I'll round up the butts like what I did with some of these. And it makes them look better too. From there, if it's too big, bigger than 29, 30 inches, I'll move it into another sort, which is like your quarter saw, which is kind of a veneer log. It's not quite good enough to meet the criteria. It's too big for a stave. It's better than a saw log, so it'll go into literally a quarter saw market, which is what it is. They'll quarter that in the quarter saw lumber, and that's traditionally white oak and chestnut oak that they do that some on. The white oak veneer, there's no limit on how big the log is. I mean, the size of the log drives the price.
What else you want to look at?
Well, maybe if you talk a little bit about what you talked about there, about maybe your past, what led you to get to here, and why why are you doing what you're doing? Because I think that's a big thing we got to get the kids in. There's some people that are going to thrive in a cubicle behind a desk.
Yeah.
I don't think any three of us are those people, and that's what I try to get, to the kids, that is great for some folks, but God didn't make us all that way. So.
Well, and honestly, most of the kids that are going to VOTEC, they want to do something with their hands.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
for me,
make sure I got you in here.
In high school, I went to Greenbrier East High School there in Lewisburg. We didn't have a forestry program. We had an agriculture program. I was never really exposed to forestry. Just so happened I had a very close family member who was a forester by trade and had done it for several years, and just sparked my interest a little bit, but I never really spent any time with him. So when I decided, I always knew I wanted to do something outside. I couldn't be the person that sat in an office behind a desk day in and day out, and I didn't think I could ever be that person that done that just 9-to-5 job. That just wasn't me. So I went to Glenville State College. I majored in natural resource management with a criminal justice minor because I thought I wanted to be a game warden, conservation officer, and started into that. And then I realized really quickly that a lot of their associate degrees there overlapped. So I picked up a forest technology, I picked up an environmental science because about half the credit hours overlapped. So I was like, the more degrees I got, the better. Might as well get the best bang for my buck. And ended up graduating with my bachelor's in natural resource management, associate or minors in criminal justice, environmental science, forest technology. And did it in 3.5 years and didn't really struggle, didn't take any summer classes. So it was a super good way to get as much as I could in a short amount of a 4-year time. I was going to go on and do my master's degree at NC State instead of study wood science, because at that turning point I actually was able to shadow a couple game wardens. Realized very quickly that was not what I wanted to do. 1, for the pay, 2, for just the nature of the work, and I love to hunt and fish, and I realized very quickly I wasn't going to be doing a lot of that. So, but at that time, it was like when the downturn had just turned around in the forest industry, and I was scared, didn't know if I could find a job. So fast forward, I graduate, really couldn't find a job here, not without having any experience. Now I was fortunate enough, I did 2 internships for Plum Creek 2 summers while I was in college, my junior and senior year. So that kind of got my foot in the door a little bit. I don't think if it wasn't for those internships, I would have never be where I'm at today, truthfully. I think even if it's just for 3 summers, or three months out of the summer, it's a huge wealth of knowledge. So any companies that offer an internship is take advantage of it, because just because you have a degree when you get out of school doesn't mean anything, truthfully. So I decided not to go to NC State. I turned down their offer. It was actually all paid for because I wanted to get real work experience, because I was like, that's all I heard. So I went to Virginia for just a little bit, worked in standing timber and the pine plantations, didn't like it. It was boring to me, one species all day long. Loved hardwoods, want to come back home. Started with Plum Creek the following fall, graduated in spring, started within the fall. So it was a very short transition. Got into the resale program there. Did a little bit on the forestry end, but mainly worked with the clipping of the logs, the selling of the logs, prepping the logs, managing log jobs, and just fell in love with it. And then I found out very, very quickly there's very, very few young people that go into this side of it, and there is jobs everywhere right now for it. There's a lot of foresters that come out and they go and they manage log jobs, they buy timber, but this side of it scares them. They don't want to learn. I don't know, but to me, it's yeah, I love every minute of it. Logs is my passion, and my theory is once that log's sitting on the ground, it is what it is. You can't change it. You can make it prettier, but all you got to know is the market value at the time, who to call to buy it. It is what it is, and I think it's simple. But back to the employment side of it, most of the guys that are in this log side of things are older. There's not many young people. I only know one other person personally who is my age. I'm 30, who's even close to my age, who is in this side. Most of them are 20 years older than me, and there's just not young people getting into this. And it's not that it's not hard, but you don't truthfully learn it in school. You got to get out, get hands-on experience. Yes, getting to school gets you in the door, getting your degree, it's where you got to start at. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if you ever had a chance to be around it, this is where it's at, because it's not just working in a log yard. It can be buying logs. I mean, it can be on the procurement side. It can be for a veneer mill, sawmills, whoever. I mean, there's so much opportunity. When you learn the value of logs, you've accomplished so much. But you never learn it all. That's the one thing I learned. The one constant with this side of it is change. Most of that's driven by the markets and the economy. It's fun, it's hectic, it's stressful sometimes. You stand out in the snow. It's not, but for me, it's a lifestyle. It's all I've ever known. So I love every minute of it. And I don't think I could ever do anything different. So not that I won't go in and sit behind a desk and do what computer work I got to do, but I don't look forward to it. If I got to sit truthfully in an office for a whole day, I come out with a pounding headache and I'm just, hey, let's go get in the snow and the mud. It's not all roses. It's not always fun. It's not always easy. But
that's why they call it a job, right?
That's right. But for me, it's really not a job. It's a lifestyle.
That's
the few guys that I work with, we all agree. You know, some people have that 9-to-5 job that you turn it off. We don't. This is constant. I mean, not that you don't have your own time, but you're constantly thinking about it. Constant. And you can't help it. If you really love it, you can't help it. So you don't look at it as a job.
Right.
And for me, once I knew that I found this, I said, well, you know, do something I love. And this is what I love.
Makes the days go by fast.
It does, tremendously.
Makes the days go by fast.
I mean, truthfully, I don't ever have enough time in a day, mainly because I got plenty of logs, but two, it just, you turn around. I mean, my biggest thing is I don't stop to eat lunch because I don't think about it. You know, I'll be like, oh crap, I didn't eat. Like, yesterday I left about 6 and I had my lunch in a bowl. I warmed it up and ate it for dinner on the way home. So, you know, but that's just what we do. But I mean, I encourage you, any type of internships that you can do to be exposed to this, whether it's a mills, whatever entity, take advantage of them while you're in school, because it's probably the only thing that got me to where I am today, truthfully, to get my foot in the door. So.
Outstanding, good deal. I appreciate you, like I say, going through all that stuff. That is wonderful.
Well, like I said, I know when I went through school, same thing.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk about this end of it.
No.
I mean, yeah, you heard veneer. That's it. You didn't. That was it.
This is I tell everybody, my theory is, you can go out and you can cruise, you can manage a log job, you can pay whatever price, but when it gets to this end, this is where you make your money. This is where you make.
This is where the dollar bills happen.
I mean, you know, you got to pay the right price within. But if you don't know what you're doing on this end, all that other was just wasted effort. And that's my theory on it. Is you got to know what you're doing to the best that you can. You can't control everything. The markets dictate so much of what we do anymore, good or bad. But you still got to know, when you look at that log, the value of it any given day throughout the year, and that's the key. So,
good deal.
And it changes all the time.
Yeah, it changes now more than ever. That's one thing. If you don't like change, business probably ain't for you, because it will change daily, weekly. Used to be, it was like season changes. Like traditionally, winter's the best time to have plenty of logs. Prices go up. You can do more with them because you don't have the checking, the splitting, the moisture coming out, sap. I mean, all that, the staining. Summertime's hectic. You actually got to put more work into them in the summertime with putting flitch savers in them to keep them from busting, waxing them to keep them from checking. And the market's just tightened down. You just can't do quite as much. Buyers get picky because the bark slipped off. You can see all the defects then. The logs look bad. So when winter comes, like October through April, May, it's fine. Summer, It can still be fun because the weather's nice, but it's not traditionally as much fun just because it's harder to sell stuff then. So winter's not as much fun because of the weather, but you can leave the logs sit for months and they'll still be fine. That's the glory of it. You can hold on. For me, it's being able to hold on to stuff and build the sorts you need to build. Or in the summertime, you really can't do it. You just gotta move it as fast as you can get it. You can't afford to hold on to it.
Good to go.
Kind of like Joe was saying a minute ago, he was talking about how he kind of got into the business. I started out when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be an engineer. So I went to Morgantown, did a little bit of engineering, and it's like, man, I don't like it. Didn't like that, kind of just what it was. So I switched into forestry. I ended up back at Glenville, got my forestry degree at Glenville, just because of the being outside. Thought, you know, hey, I'm gonna be out there hunting fish all day long, that kind of thing. Managed to save the forest. As time goes on, you kind of get into different angles of it. We've got to have those people that manage, that do that manage national forest, state forest, all that. But there's so many different parts of forestry. I kind of got into the industrial side of it, which is called a procurement forester. We do management. We look at each tract. We buy from private landowners, state, federal lands, everywhere. But it's that kind of being out there doing it. Getting to school, the basic stuff, it gets you going, but you learn so much as you kind of go along with that as you go through time. Not only dealing with people, dealing with the loggers. So my side of it is kind of getting the log to this spot. I kind of like that part. Dealing with the landowner, you know, landowner calls up and says, hey, I want to sell my timber. You go out and you look at that. Well, a lot of landowners never sold timber before. They sell it once in their lifetime, maybe twice. But to work with the landowner of what their goals are, what they want to see out of it, you know, a lot of them is for money. But probably in the last 15 years, so many people said, hey, I want to cut my timber because I want to manage for the wildlife, for deer hunting. I mean, deer hunting's big, we all know that. So kind of do that and then work a deal with the landowner, put all that together, bring the logger out, harvest that tract of timber, kind of watch it all go along, and then when it's done, finish it up that way. For me, that's kind of the part that really I kind of like of it. Have got into more kind of the management into things because of years of doing it. But now, I mean, we're looking at 54 million feet of logs this year to keep the plant running. The plywood side, which is part of what's sitting behind me, and doing the logs with Joe is just a little side deal for us in a sense, but it's still a big part of what our business is. But that whole part of it, and it's kind of like, I like the challenge of doing all that when you look at it. We're looking about 60 loads of logs a day, something like that. So it's a challenge, but it's part of it that kind of gets me going. That's where I'm at on it. So it's kind of my backstory, I guess.
Yeah, it's,
look at his cookie.
Yeah, let's go look at the cookie. Yeah.
His curly cookie.
That's it.
That's the inside of that big log over there. You can have it.
Wow, isn't that something?
Like I said, it didn't look real impressive.
Yeah. Isn't that
Will the
neat?
phone light show up?
I don't know if it will or not. If I break it one more time, it'll make it pop again.
Yeah, that is neat. Really cool. Yeah.
If you get it out in the sun.
Oh yeah.
There it
you
is,
see
a
it.
little bit.
Let's see if it's showing up on the.
You can take it back in the classroom.
Yeah.
You get in a light in the classroom in the back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It'll really.
I cut it off on a sunny day and I was just like, wow.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It just didn't look that much apparent on the outside.
Yeah. Oh, that is neat. Yeah, you can kind of feel that just very lightly. Yeah.
Yep.
Run your finger, feel that wave in it.
Yeah. So basically on a day like today, where you got the frozen mud, logs, it's tough to saw. And I have to do a tremendous amount of clipping on these higher end logs. So what I try to do, I prefer still 660s, 661s. I don't like 880s. This is the model I like for clipping logs. It's got plenty enough power. It's not overly big. I like a 20-inch bar. I don't like a 24-inch bar. It takes a little bit of power away. Plus you don't really need a 24-inch bar most of the time. But what I try to do to keep my saw sharp is, number one, I got my axe. I'll chop the mud, I'll chop the ice. Number two is boring into the log as much as possible and trying to kick that mud out so it ain't wrapping the mud going all the way around your chain. It's just kicking it out, and it makes a tremendous difference. So you're still going to have to sharpen at least 3 or 4 times a day, but it'll save your chain life. And having them, yeah, that's sharp chain. That's what makes it
Good deal.
How come you went to 661 versus the 500?
a little bit more power still yet. I like, now this saw is a little bit heavier, but this is all I've ever used. I just prefer it.
Yep.
It's just my personal opinion. Some people like Husqvarna. I like Husqvarna for cutting timber and cutting clean logs. There's no doubt about it. They're a faster cutting saw. Hands down, I don't care what anybody says. They're the fastest cutting saw out there. But when it comes to just power and torque and trying to burn through the stuff we need to go through, I'll go with the STIHL all day long. And they just hold up, seem more durable, parts and everything, basically. So, and the biggest thing I like about these now more than anything, one thing I ran into when I plunge cut a lot, bored in, is this would knock it loose quite often. You lose a nut in the snow and you never find it. So now they got them where they won't come off the covers. That's a tremendous help.
Yeah, that capture nut's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's probably the best
Yeah.
added feature they made for me personally, because there's just you can't keep the chain tight when you're constantly boring in. It's going to loosen it up, and you constantly. That's the only disadvantage of boring in so much is you will stretch your chain faster. And switch back to steel chains. Now I still like Oregon files.
Yeah.
I'll never switch from those. I mean, it's just little quirky things when you run a saw. I got steel chains or steel files I'm filing with today. But I won't use anything but a steel file. I used to love when they had the older style with the tips on them that you really can't. They kind of neck down a little bit more. I can't remember what they were called. I love those. But yeah, it's just my preference.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's now, did you say you had a chance to run a 500?
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I think it's very comparable to this. Yeah. It might be a couple. I didn't think it was that much lighter.
Yeah.
I mean, when you pick this up, you pick that up. I know it's probably a couple pounds lighter or whatever it said. I couldn't notice the difference. One thing I like that I did not like about I like the weight distribution. That's the other thing I don't like about Huskies.
Yeah.
They're so heavy.
Yeah.
But it sounds weird, but those things, if you pack them around all day, it'll wear you out really fast. Just that.
Yeah.
Like,
Fighting bad.
Yeah.
Balance,
so that's another reason why I like steel. But, yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you got a new blower hiding up in there too.
Yeah, that's some people say, what do you need a leaf blower for? I say, I hate the snow. I don't mind the cold.
Yeah.
I don't mind the mud. I don't mind 10-degree weather. I hate the snow because you can't see nothing.
Yeah.
You gotta blow it off.
Yeah.
And when you're doing higher end logs, you gotta blow them off.
You have to see.
You have to see them.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is the logs lay out. So I'm a big proponent of putting them in a pile. Some people say lay them out, then you ain't got a double handle. But when you lay them out, they get that just an inch of snow and it warms up just a little bit, freezes. You can't beat it off. You can't blow it off. You can't broom it off.
Right. Yeah.
Push broom, I'll push broom. You still can't see it.
Yeah.
And that happened well with some white oak. I mean, we had a big run of white oak up through there. Come just like 2 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Fires went through and they just can't see half. And I could pick them up and drop them and still wouldn't come off.
Right.
I just had to wait till they thaw out, pile them back up, and then went back through them and they bought 75–80% of them once they thaw back out. So that, but it's a tremendous help. I like to stand on top of the log because you're standing down, you're just covered. It's just a big
Standing in the blizzard. Yeah.
So, but you know, that's what I've always used is a steel Magnum leaf blowers.
Yeah. We were over there at Hardman's Fridays noticing they had the one with the pull handle right here.
Yep.
Man, I tell you what, I don't know how many times. How many times they have to do as soon as you get it started knowing somebody says, hey.
That's what that guy was trying to sell me that when it was only $50 difference. And I told myself, well, for me, my routine, I just pull it out and try to get it started. I let it warm up anyways.
Yeah.
On the tailgate or sitting down. So then I put it on the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was always a claim. Man, that would be nice. So, and that was the only difference I could tell too. Just that pull handle.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I hope you enjoyed getting to hear Joe's perspective on why the saw he picked is the 661, and just again, like it's nice to see different folks using different saws for different purposes, and stuff that we find is very very handy for one, it may not be a bit handy for the other, and he talked a little bit there too about I don't think I was able to catch it on the the clip, but talking about carbide chain and how he had used it, but it was very difficult for him to deal with because it was in being out in this field area versus close to a shop where he could get to a grinder, because it takes a diamond wheel to sharpen that regular file. It just the file is unfortunately not as hard as the cutter, so it doesn't do any good. But anyway, it was really good to get to hear his perspective and why he chose what he uses, and anyway, and also how they got to where they were. I, again, hope those were interesting things to you, and it just kind of shows the vast amount of opportunity here in the forest industry. There's so many opportunities out there. If you like to be out in the woods, or if you like to be in a machine, or like him, like to just really focus on one very small piece, which is the log, and where to send those, and again, and there's so much opportunity, and just a I don't know, just amazing. Every day I do it. I didn't even know the job that he does existed. So I hope it's helpful for you guys. And like I say, there's just so many different things. I miss the guy there that was working on his log loader for him. It had stopped working, and the heater had quit, and so there was a diesel technician there on site working on it that is employed by this lumber company, and there's so many things. No matter what you like to do, there's opportunity in the forest industry. There's, here we see again heavy equipment operators, men in the woods, folks at the plant. Maybe you want to work inside a building. Again, tons of opportunity there. There's just whatever strengths you have that there's something there for you. And now I want to talk just a moment about these logs that are being loaded on the trailer here. Chris was good enough to get me some of these, and these are called spin outs, and you can kind of see on the ends of them there where the lathe chucked in it lost its hold, so it spun out, and so they can't really do anything with these other than sell them for pulpwood because they can't peel them down anymore. But these logs are perfectly the same diameter from one end to the other. So I'm really excited he was able to get some of these for us so we can do some chainsaw racing on logs that are just basically great big long dowel rods. We'll wash them up real good and get them all stacked up, get them on a rack there, and we'll do some chainsaw comparisons with these in the near future. All right, now, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and I just had a wonderful time hanging out with these guys today. And special thanks to the folks at Columbia Forest Products, Chris Neal and Joe Brown, for taking their time to let us check everything out. And here you're kind of seeing us exit the facility, and this is where the log trucks come in and leave. This is the little road there behind the plant. You kind of see some of the um, buildings there. This is I guess inside this building is where they do all the plywood production. So here we're seeing a Peterbilt coming up on the left. He's hauling a load of logs in there, and just a really fascinating place. They make a really beautiful product, and they're really excited about this hardwood resale that they're doing. Just a really interesting piece to add to the business plan. But we're going to fixing to get back on the road and get out of here. And it was a very cold, windy, snowy day, but it was a wonderful time. Got to see a lot of neat stuff. And again, I want to encourage you. If the forestry industry is something that is even remotely interesting to you, definitely look into where your skill set fits in there, because there are so many opportunities in it. And you're going to. I got a really good shot here of this entrance coming in. Of course, that was after 11 minutes and 47 seconds. So I missed their sign. You can kind of see it off to the right there. But anyway, it's again. I just want to encourage you. There's a lot of interesting things out there to do, and we're getting ready to roll out and head back to the shop. And we left here and went and had got a late lunch and got to chat some more, and just got to talk a little bit about the different things going on with the markets these days with in the timber industry, and some of the neat places some of the stuff's going. I tell you, again, talking to Joe there, he didn't get to talk about it much because of the well, it didn't get captured on film, I'll say, about the different places it goes. He said there's 50 some different people that he works with on this, and it's just really amazing to get to see all the different options and different places it goes and the uses, and I mean right down to just some crazy things that you just don't even think about. It's, he was talking about the curly maple, and then uh, I hate to miss that because there's a lot of interesting information in it, and how to look for it. It's really hard to see until you can shake the bark off of it. But there's just some really neat things, and where those went. He said they typically go to musical instruments and sometimes some really fancy cabinetry that in really fancy hotels and things. But again, it's just a really neat time, and got to learn a lot, and I can't wait to get back up there and pick up the pieces that were lost. So again, I hope you got to enjoy getting to hear a little bit about the different segments along the way there, and learn about about some of the white oak stuff, and seeing where all the different places it can go, and the other sorts had similar stories and where they went. But again, we're going to head on back to the shop now, and we're driving down the road. Beautiful weather. I love driving in snow. I might be crazy, but I just love looking at the snow and everything. It's kind of take a little extra time, but it is a lot of fun, and getting to see all the beautiful mountains covered in the snow. And but anyway, we're heading back, and I'm going to head back to the shop this evening, or back to the house rather. I want to before I get back to the shop to unload these, and I'll load up that or I'll head on up there in the morning and unload that stuff. And I think I even have a clip in here of starting up the next morning. So the truck we're in here is it's a 2012 Cummins 6-speed truck that has, on this trip, it turned 432,500 miles. So it has just been a horse. It's been a really good truck, and you'll get to see it start up the next morning there, and not being plugged in or anything. Blew cold outside, and she just fires right up. So, but anyway, I'll let you get back to the video.